Today we're going to cover the 4 DevOps journeys to agility, reliability, and security in your organization. My name is Alexander Mazurek with Quint Wellington Redwood, and I'll be your host today. Quint is a global consulting firm dedicated to the improvement of IT's value to the business. This year we're celebrating our 25th anniversary. We started off in 1992 over in Amsterdam, but now we've expanded completely globally with offices all over the world, operations in 49 countries with 250 consultants operating in those countries. What you need to know about us is we strive for thought leadership in the areas of sourcing, architecture, governance, service management, lean IT, agile, and DevOps. Those are the core of what we do and everything that we put out there. We're very proud to say that for the last 3 years running, we've been listed as a top global advisor on sourcing and governance by the IAOP in the areas of client satisfaction, delivery of excellence, and innovative programs. And as I mentioned before, we'd like to set some trends in the areas of ITSM, lean IT, and DevOps. Today's speaker is Niels Loader. He is an expert in the areas of DevOps and Lean IT, very prominent in the DevOps and Lean IT world. He's the content board lead at LEDA, which is the Lean IT Association, the chief examiner of Lean IT at APMG. He's worked with some of the largest organizations in the world with IT performance improvement. Niels, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's great to be here. Today we're going to talk about the journeys of DevOps. And over the past years, colleagues of mine and myself, we've been working with various companies, various organizations, IT organizations, to help them to make the best out of what DevOps can offer. And what we found is that looking at where you actually start with DevOps is quite an important aspect. And you see different accents to that movement from, say, a traditional, relatively silo-oriented, or should I say technically oriented IT organization to a more customer-oriented organization. And I think this is something that a lot of IT organizations are dealing with at the moment, is really trying to understand where am I starting from? What are the strengths that I can build on to make sure that my DevOps organization can actually take shape? And how can I then speed up the way I'm doing my DevOps transformation to make sure that it's going to work? Okay, so those are really the things I'd like to talk with you about today. And it starts with an age-old problem of what is actually DevOps. And we see that there are a lot of different definitions. There are a lot of different ways of looking at DevOps. And I think this has caused a bit of the problem that we're faced with at the moment, or that you may be faced with. Okay, but what do we mean by DevOps? What is this thing? And depending on who I talk to, whether I talk to infrastructure operations, or whether I talk to application development departments, or whether I talk to the architects, depending on who I talk to, I get a different answer. And what I'm really looking for is a common answer, an answer which will help me to take the organization forward. And towards the end of this presentation, I hope to give you at least what I think is a very useful answer, and I found to be a useful answer with my customers. But let's dive into those journeys now. What are the journeys that we're actually looking at? Well, there's the one that really starts from the applications development segment of our organization. It's really moving from, say, Waterfall way of working, or maybe Agile way of working, to a DevOps way of working. This will be the first journey that we deal with, and it is the most classic one. It's the one that we see being used most often, about 50% of the cases. The second one is where we're really starting from the production side of the organization. So we have a strong experience and strong stability in our application management, and what we're going to try and do is add development capability to that team to make sure that they are able to provide an end-to-end lifecycle service. These are kind of the two variations on the theme of looking from the application perspective. And obviously, there's an infrastructure issue as well in terms of building DevOps teams on the infrastructure side of your organization. This is where we see that most of the time, infrastructure development departments, they don't really exist particularly clearly, and they don't really form the core of a movement towards DevOps. What we find is that there's a huge focus on infrastructure operations and ensuring that infrastructure operations becomes more agile and takes on a more DevOps style of working. And the last journey we've found is one that comes, in fact, after you've done one or more of the first three, and that is where you're increasing self-service along the infrastructure side. Okay, let's take a little dive into each of these journeys and see what makes them slightly different. Okay, as I said earlier, the most popular journey to take is one which starts in application development. So what you'll see is that organizations have invested in understanding Agile, Scrum. They've been building teams that work with sprints. So they're speeding up. They're relatively multidisciplinary, except for the fact that they don't have the production responsibility. They have all the QA, the testing environments, the programming environments, or development environments. Those are the ones that they're responsible for, and really to create an integral responsibility, we need to add that responsibility for the operations side of the applications. So we're focusing on fast, we're focusing on automation, test-driven development, continuous integration. These kinds of ideas are already kind of alive in these teams. And that's really the starting point that you're looking at. Now, what happens then is that you start adding operations to this team, and then you get the age-old DevOps statement of you build it, you run it, which basically means we're not letting application people just get away with producing development on the application and then throwing it over the wall into operations. No, we're creating that lifecycle responsibility in which teams actually learn together, improve together, and focus on end-to-end quality. So quality at the source, making sure we're building in security aspects that we don't need to build in later in terms of firewalls and all kinds of other stuff. We need to make sure that the application is created as an entity that will have quality built in with low levels of incidents, for example. What you'll see is that operations people will tend to be used to picking up all the incidents and the problems that have been created by developers. So when we bring these people together, we initially also see a little bit of tension, a little bit of team building is necessary, because we've got to overcome that wall of confusion that was created in the time that we had our different technical silos, and we need to get this team together and start really getting them to understand what it is to deliver and be responsible for a specific service and a specific product. So we're getting this team together and helping them to learn what it is to be autonomous as a team. This is quite a challenge, because often teams and people have been used to being dependent on others, and now all the dependencies are basically within the same team. So we end up creating teams that in fact can go even faster than just in the Agile Scrum way of working. And one of the challenges is that we also end up speeding up so much that sometimes we overtake the speed that the business actually needs. And it's about balancing our capabilities with what our business actually needs. Okay, so this is really the classic journey, and I'm sure some of you will be going through this situation at this particular moment. But the aim is to end up with this DevOps team that is responsible for the life cycle of the product and service for the customer. Now, the next journey is going the other way around. So we're starting from applications operations. We have a bunch of people who are responsible for the production environment. They don't really do a lot of changes. Maybe they're doing slight configuration changes to the application they're supporting. And their primary governance is making sure they have their processes in place. You can use a model like ITIL for this one, or you can use ASL is another model, application services library. These are all models that tend to be used on this side, and they focus on stability, on making sure that customers get a decent production environment for their applications. But what you see is that there's not a lot of innovation here. There's not a lot of, as soon as things need to be changed, we need to go and talk to somebody else and submit some kind of change, and it can take months before it actually gets passed back through. So what we then need to do in this route is to basically make sure that we're adding development capability to our operations people. And again, you see the same level of tension when you build a team like this. You're getting people coming into a team who were tended to be seen as the enemy. So we have maybe a group of 5, 6 operations people, and we're adding 2 developers to that, you feel the tension of people who want to maintain the stability. They bring these 2 people in who are basically there to disrupt that nice, comfortable situation. Again, the focus that we have, particularly for the team leads and the managerial levels above, is how do we make sure that we gel this team into a functioning set of people. I've seen both ends of the spectrum where this has worked relatively naturally with people actually being very, very happy and relieved that at last they're legitimately in the same room together working on the same service for the customer. But I've also seen teams where the initial start has been very painful and very difficult because there have been issues from the past that really need to be discussed about how people have done their work. So these are important things that you need to take into account with particularly on the application level and creating application DevOps teams. What kind of characteristics do we see? Well, again, we're forming multidisciplinary teams, much broader now than initially just the operations-oriented teams. At the same time, you see that there's a clustering of services into domains. You end up needing to adjust your organization. And it's building up that development capacity within the team and making sure that it's accepted. So we're moving away from that focus on endless stability for the customer to creating an environment in which the development people bring in a feel for speed of delivery. And sometimes we've seen that in the traditional way of developing software, there's the people who are brought in don't even bring an agile Scrum kind of way of thinking with them. They bring in also a quite slow speed of delivery. It's about speeding that up. So one of the big challenges here is that we have this tendency to create projects. Within a DevOps team, we're looking to create small user stories, small bits of work that we can do quickly, one after the other, and gain some kind of feedback from our production environments as to what's going on. And in this journey, you see it most prominently, that it's all about making sure that the team really starts gelling in, and we break down these silos and this separated way of thinking, and see it more as a value stream that is delivering value on a continuous basis to our customers. I've found that if you do have the agile mindset in a number of people in the team, you can help to speed up your delivery quite substantially. And when it's missing altogether, you need to take a couple of steps with the team to help them to understand that it's all about this flow of value to the customer. And in these situations, we'll spend like a morning or a couple of hours regularly talking about lean production methods, lean principles, customer value streams, flow, pull, perfection. These kind of things we will be adding to these teams. Now, the third journey is creating a DevOps team on the infrastructure side. Now, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's thinking, yeah, but hang on, DevOps isn't that a full stack team where you have application people, you have middleware people, you have database people, you've got server people, you've got operating system people, so you've got the whole stack. Now, in reality, what we see is that is not what is actually happening in the market. What's happening is we're creating application-oriented teams or business-oriented teams that take a certain level of the technology stack and become responsible for that. And usually that ends somewhere around database, maybe middleware level. Often I don't see it going down to operating system level. That is what we see being integrated into what we call platform teams, which are all about creating infrastructure environments that can be used by the application teams. And this is actually a very important journey, where we're seeing a lot of infrastructure people, maybe Windows technicians in teams who are being brought together to create platforms that can be generated automatically, that can be used more in terms of self-service. This is the responsibility that we see at the infrastructure level. So providing the infrastructure in an easy way, using things like infrastructure as code. Okay, so we look at this infrastructure domain, and we've got everything from network to servers to the variety of operating systems, virtual machines, physical machines. You know, there's a great diversity in there that has traditionally been organized in a very, very silo-driven way. So we have our network guys, we have our server people, and we've kept them as relatively apart from one another. And you see that the production environments are really kept very, very much under lock and key. And what we're going to try and do is loosen this a little bit without losing the control. And how are we going to do that? We're going to add more automation to this side of our IT organization. So we're going to create these platform teams. We're going to standardize. This is something that's very important. We're going to create standard images of our infrastructure in code, so that these can be generated automatically at will by application teams, and they can create test environments, create new QA environments by using cloud technologies to ensure that actually happens. And really, this is creating a platform on which our application people can really do their work. So these first three journeys are very important for creating an environment in which we have DevOps teams at both a business application level and at a platform level. And once we've gone through these journeys, we can then move to the fourth journey, which is where we're actually lowering that level of responsibility, or in fact increasing the level of responsibility at the for the applications, by providing them with self-service portals that will let them do the things they need to do. And then you see that the collaboration between applications and infrastructure is facilitated a lot more, because there's a clear discussion between application teams and infrastructure teams about what is actually needed, and infrastructure teams are able to respond quickly to changing needs on the application team side. And in fact, what we end up doing is we end up transferring the responsibility for the vast majority of the technology stack to the application teams. Okay, so those are really the four journeys that we need to be aware of. But in the end, all these DevOps journeys lead to the fact that we are going to maximize the quality and the value delivery to our customers. Okay, and this means that we're trying to get to a position where we have a whole series of DevOps teams. It doesn't matter where we started, but we get to a point where we have DevOps teams, and from there we can start creating a continuous improvement environment in our IT organization. Now, I started this presentation with the two elements, where there's this issue with the definition of DevOps, and what you'll find if you Google on the definitions of DevOps, you'll find loads and loads of different ones, and they're all right, but the one thing they all do is they describe DevOps and they don't define it. And what I like kind of leave you with is a definition that I like to use and that I know resonates with customers that I've been talking to, because it helps them to actually guide their journey. As far as I'm concerned, the DevOps is really the ultimate search for flow within IT. And if we search for flow and create flow within IT, we can flow the value to the customer much better. And with flow, I mean lean flow. It's all about making sure that we're removing the waste from all of our processes. It's about making sure that we focus on carrying out the added value activities and pushing those together as close as possible. And among others, using automation to achieve this goal. But automation is not the only thing we need within DevOps. We also need to be aware of team forming, as we've seen in the journeys. These are very important success factors that you will be hearing about later on in this webinar series. So really, when you do DevOps, ask the question, if I have a choice to make, if I want to do something, will this help me to achieve flow within my organization or not? If it doesn't, then you've really got to ask yourself whether you want to take this decision. Okay? If it helps to create the flow of value to customers, then you should be doing it. Now, I want to leave you just with one thing. We've been talking about these starting points, and really these are the starting points of ensuring that your transformation will work properly. But really, the starting point of your journey should be in the boardroom. It's all about making sure that your leaders also know what is going on. This is the largest transformation within the IT industry that we've seen since the entry of ITIL. This is a huge transformation towards lean production methods that we happen to call DevOps, that has been going on for maybe the last 5 to 10 years. That's when it started, and we're in the middle of it. There are lots of organizations working on these journeys, and they really need the support of senior management to make sure this works. That's what I wanted to leave you with today. Are there any questions, Alex?
Yes, Niels, there are, and thank you for the great presentation. Just want to remind everybody this is an open forum, so continue to ask questions if you have them as of right now. So we'll jump right into the first one, Niels, which is when searching for DevOps. I mean, I always see some of the same organizations doing it, like Netflix. Do you see many smaller organizations or non-traditional organizations doing DevOps?
Yeah, you'll hear a lot of the same names. Yeah, as you say, Netflix in Europe. There's ING, there's Amazon, there's Google. These are the names that continuously pop up, and you kind of wonder whether there are other organizations actually working on this stuff. Well, the answer is yes, there are lots of them, and in fact, I would hazard a guess that there's probably about 30 to 40% of all IT organizations are really seriously looking at creating a lean production environment in their IT organization. So they're using lean methodologies and lean principles to change the way that they're actually running IT at the moment. And a lot of them are doing it under the name Agile, others are doing it under the name of Lean IT, others are doing it under the name of DevOps. But in fact, we're all working towards the same kind of goal, which is adding more value more quickly to our customers. And it doesn't matter what you call it, it's just you see that a lot of organizations, small, large, medium-sized, a lot of them are working on it at this moment in time. There are also a bunch who are kind of looking from the sideline and seeing what's happening.
Do you see DevOps as the quote-unquote killer of ITIL?
No, I don't. I see ITIL as a very important body of knowledge explaining how what the key functions and key aspects of IT are. The movement that's being made at the moment is one towards, as I've said, a lean production style where that knowledge will be important, but the configuration of that knowledge will be different. ITIL has focused on a fairly traditional configuration of an IT organization with application development and infrastructure, and this world is changing. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to answer the question: does what we do add to the flow of value through IT to the customers? And if it's not adding to that flow, then it's not helping us. And what I've unfortunately seen is that a lot of the value that's in ITIL has been removed by the way we've actually used it. But still, we will face issues within DevOps environments where the ITIL books can provide us with solutions. In fact, I'll just tell you a little anecdote. I was at a DevOps Days conference in Amsterdam a couple of years ago, and a guy was giving this fabulous presentation about how they dealt with the operational side of their DevOps service. And basically all he did was explained ITIL incident management with a little bit of IT service continuity management. And I was like, I went up to him afterwards and I said, do you realize that you've literally shown the slides from an ITIL course? And he looked at me blankly and said, oh, no, I didn't realize that. So you see that there is a lot of value in ITIL. It's just we need to add those lean principles to create the DevOps journey that we're looking for.
Awesome. Great answers, Neil. We've sort of went over, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up now for everybody. These are the methods that you have to contact us. We're active on just about every single social media network. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a wonderful